Welcome to Built to Win, the podcast created to help you level up your business game by developing a success mindset made for the long run. In this episode, Neora's Dave Fleming talks with Platinum National Marketing Director Mary Chieppor and her daughter Emma Chieppor to get two very different viewpoints on entrepreneurship. Mary, a seasoned direct sales leader, and Emma, founder of Excel Dictionary, share what they love about entrepreneurship, how they got started, and the power of taking risks.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Built to Win. It is my extreme pleasure to welcome to our show today two extremely successful entrepreneurs in very different walks of life, but they do happen to be a mother and daughter. So I thought it'd be really fun to bring two people together, just from the family perspective, but also from very different business perspectives. And we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship. We're going to be talking about running your own business. I have with me Mary Chieppor, who is a Platinum National Marketing Director with Neora, and her daughter Emma, who is the founder of Excel Dictionary with I believe over 7 million followers on that. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think we're actually up to over 9 million across all platforms now, which is pretty crazy. Um, Across the globe too, worldwide.
That is crazy. That's fantastic too, though. And for people who don't know, Excel Dictionary is an absolutely fantastic tool. I'm a huge nerd, and it's going to show. But I love Excel. I love the quantitative analysis. To me, is like a really, really useful tool that we use on a regular basis at Neora and throughout my business career so far. I'm not only a follower, but I'm also a big fan. So great to have you on the show. And I think for people that don't know you, Mary and Emma, just tell us a little bit about yourselves, like who you are, where are you, what do you like to do? Like just help us get to know you just a little bit before we dive into some of the other questions we want to get to.
Hi, my name's Emma, the founder of Excel Dictionary, and how I got started. So it was kind of when I graduated from college. I was an actuarial science major, and I actually worked with social media a little bit in college, but in the fashion influencing industry. And I was working with brands in exchange for clothes and stuff. But then whenever I graduated, I started my job as an actuary, and I kind of moved away from social media at that point to focus on the exams. And it was about 2 weeks before I was supposed to go into my first day of my new job, and COVID actually hit. So my role was completely moved to remote, and the entire company was as well. It was actually even pushed back 2 weeks because of everything that was happening. So I started this new role, fresh out of college, new to the industry, new to the company, remote, along with everyone else adjusting from this remote work from home life. And on top of that, I had never learned Excel. So I started getting these really complex Excel tasks, and I had no idea who to ask for help because I didn't know anyone at the company. And I was just like sitting in my room alone trying to figure out how to do these basic things. And I didn't want to message my boss, asking how to do silly Excel questions that I probably should have known the answer to. So I just like found myself really frustrated. I dreaded work. It was not having fun trying to figure out Excel. So eventually I decided enough was enough, and I just began teaching myself everything I could. I started watching YouTube videos, read blogs, and like fast forward a year between all of the YouTube videos, the blogs, and actually working on these complex Excel models at my job, I got really good at Excel, and I realized how much I loved it and how it can really shift your outlook on work if you know how to use it. So I still work from home. It's now like May of 2021. And I just kind of knew something was missing. I wasn't really passionate about insurance. I was kind of bored, and I just like missed working on social media and being creative. So I just like kind of started thinking like what can I do to truly help others with social media, because I didn't really want to post myself anymore. And then I thought of Excel because I figured that there had to be other people in my same situation who maybe are starting a job remote and don't know how to use Excel, don't know who to ask. So I started Excel Dictionary to try to be the coworker that I didn't have whenever I started my job. And I started posting Excel tips in May of 2021. And like within the first week, I had a video go viral and get over 750,000 views, which I was just like shocked. I was like, wow. people actually want to watch my Excel tips. So I just kept posting, and within like 3 months, I had 1 million on TikTok, and 7 months, I had 1 million on Instagram, which was just crazy. So fast forward, it's been 4 years now, I think. And we've grown to 9 million across all social platforms across the globe.
That is awesome. That is impressive. Did you have any idea that posting videos and questions on how to do Excel was going to be so popular?
No, I was like completely shocked. I didn't even realize that many people used Excel. I was just blown away with how quickly it grew as well. Like it kind of felt like it happened overnight. And I don't know if I was really mentally prepared for that as well, but I was just like, this is it. We're just gonna dive right in. We're gonna go outside of my comfort zone. We're gonna get on camera. We're just gonna do all this stuff that I've never done before. So yeah, I had no clue. It's still crazy to me how many people follow my Excel account.
And you know what's funny? I actually, when she was starting, I was trying to talk her out of it and told her to
She
do
was.
a different business because I remember we were in Costa Rica or somewhere. I'm on vacation and she was working. And I was like, why don't you do this instead? I think this is a better idea.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
and
just the
obviously, I
same.
was wrong. Don't listen to your mom, right? Don't listen to your mom all the time.
Well,
Right.
in your defense, you don't really use Excel, so
I know that's
Excel
true.
does sound boring, but I tend to make it fun in my videos.
Mhm.
Sounds like you've clearly you found the right niche. So that's super
Yeah.
cool though. Mary, tell us a little bit about you um and what are you up to? What's your
I live in part-time in Florida, part-time in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I've been with Neora now for almost 14 years. I started when the company was 9 months old, so really exciting. My background is I'm a ceramic engineer, but like many others, quit my job a long time ago to stay home with my kids. And that's when I found this industry. Someone had left a catalog at the time. We shopped via catalogs, and even catalogs back then were kind of a new thing. So, someone left a catalog in my mailbox, and I thought, gosh, what if I could just make a little extra money alongside of not having a lot of money? Because we went from two major incomes down to one income. So that's how I got started. I got started in Party Plan and then it just evolved from there. So super, so happy and blessed that I found the situation that I'm in now because it truly, my life looks totally different than it did 15 years ago. So, or 14 years ago.
Yeah. Let's talk about that a little bit more. Like, so you're both obviously entrepreneurs, successful business owners, very different businesses. But I kind of want to talk about what are those things, if there were things that you found in common with, running a business, starting a business? What were the surprises? What were things that kind of stood out to you? Maybe things that were easier than you thought they might be, or things that maybe weren't easier, maybe things that were harder than you thought they would be.
I think one of the things that I found like the most challenging was how many different things you needed to know, especially with Excel dictionary, kind of starting your own online brand. Before at my job, I just had to know how to do my actuarial work, and that's kind of it. And then now, as Excel Dictionary, you have to know how to market your products. You have to know how to create the products. You need to know how to set up everything technically. You need to know customer service, like the amount, and then on top of that, accounting. It's just the amount of things that you run into actually running your business. I've never even thought about all of that whenever I started posting Excel tips. So I think like that has definitely been one of the hardest parts is just the amount of things that you do have to learn on a day-to-day basis that come up. And you just have to be very adaptive with it and just be willing to kind of learn anything that you need to learn in order to just have a successful business. Um, so yeah, I would say that is probably like one of the harder parts.
From my perspective, it's kind of funny what Emma said about learning everything and being all encompassing. I think with my business, we don't need to know everything, which is a really cool part of it. Like, we don't need to know accounting. We don't need to know how to make the product, market the product, right? I think from the only challenging part, or one of the challenging parts of my business is being able to put yourself out there and
Hmm.
being able to reach out to people, to start conversations, to get outside your comfort zone. Similar to what Emma was saying about, social media, but that's the beauty. And I think the biggest thing is being coachable and being able to listen to somebody else and take their advice and try to implement that.
Hmm. Yeah, tell me a little bit about, because I mean, like with direct selling, and then, and I know a lot more about direct selling than I do about the world of social media influencing, but, um, you know, it feels like people can say whatever they want. Like people are on like they'll comment, and it's like they're commenting, and it's like they don't even realize that there's a real person behind the account that they're talking about. Like, do you grow a thicker skin around that, or is it something you never quite get used to, or like how does that work? Like, I imagine myself like reading comments on social media and like quitting. Like I would like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to read nasty comments from people.
Yeah, I think you do get kind of used to it and you kind of start to laugh at it because honestly, anyone commenting negative things about you is not, they're coming from a place of jealousy and you're in a better spot than them anyway if they're leaving those comments. I personally just stopped reading all of them. I don't go through my DMs. I don't read the comments because there's no point in it really. I just like focus on what's important and creating Excel contents and tips that's going to help others and just keep on moving forward. I don't dive into the nitty-gritty of what everyone's saying online. I think that helps. It's just not even like kind of just like blocking it out completely too.
Yeah. What about you, Mary? Because I know, and it's wild because direct selling has been it's been around a lot longer than social media, and direct selling and social media have had this kind of this, like, the worlds colliding, where direct selling was one of the first sales channels to really adopt direct selling, or to adopt social media rather. um and you kind of get the same thing. So I'm curious if, like, if you noticed the same thing building your business. Like, were people like, was it hard? Like, did people, did they
Yeah,
say?
so I think, and I had some great mentors early on, and it's such a silly saying, but I remember one of my original mentors in my first company said, you got to think of it as offering somebody a glass of iced tea. You wouldn't get mad if they said no, right? It's they're not telling you no. The situation might not be right for them. They could be in a different position. You don't know what's going on in their lives. So I think from that, because I used to get really upset when I heard no's. And it's just part of the business. It's just part of evolving and learning, about yourself. So I think if you can look at it from that perspective and as a way of serving people too, right? I mean, if that's really look at the position that they're coming in and where they are in their life, and they could be struggling. So, and then the other thing I always think of is those people do not pay my bills, right? They don't write me a check. So their opinions do not matter a lot of times to me.
I'm curious, like, going back in time a little bit to when you both first started your businesses. Was there a moment where you said, this is what I want to do? Like, like with Emma, it kind of sounds like there was more of a kind of a, almost like you needed to do um, something different than you were doing. And curious if, Mary, if you had a moment, or maybe it didn't, maybe it just happened over time. Maybe there was kind of a gradual, getting familiar with, hey, this is something that I could do and I'm good at, and then it became something more.
For me, I loved, and I still love direct sales. I do. I love it. It's a great way to connect with people. In doing this business, you get to meet so many different people. So that's truly what I love about it. I have to say, we're in skincare and wellness. when I first got into it, was I passionate about skincare and wellness? No. I mean, I'm an engineer. No, I didn't even, wash my face. So, but I was passionate about helping others build something and see potential, I guess, in themselves. And truly, that's what you can do in this industry. You don't have to be passionate maybe so much about the product or every little niche about it, but there's so much that you can do to help other people. So that's what I love about it. And I kind of realized maybe within 2 to 3 years of starting in direct sales that, yeah, I mean, it was something that I loved doing because I loved getting, and back then we used to go in people's homes, we used to do parties. So in the town where I lived, and I did party plan for 10 or 15 years. I mean, I know most people, like I can't go to Lowe's without running into somebody I know because I met so many different people through the businesses that I was in. So, would a lot of people, I mean, you have to put yourself out there though, because you're going to, back then we were going into someone's home, asking them to do have a, to possibly buy something. So it wasn't always positive, but I looked at it from that perspective of being positive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
No,
was gonna say, I think like for me as well, like I kind of knew that I didn't want to work in the corporate cycle, have a 9 to 5 for the rest of my life. I kind of just had this feeling that I wanted to do more and I wanted to build something that was my own and just not work for someone else for the rest of my life and be on someone else's timeline. I wanted to create a business that could potentially make me like a ton of money as well and just be like I kind of had that feeling that did like want to be really successful. I just wasn't exactly sure how yet. And yeah, I just have always been a person who's been super driven, like constantly has to be doing something. Can't sit down, watch TV. I've never been someone to just sit around. Like I always have to be working on something. So I just kind of had this feeling that I knew that I wanted to do something and build something, but I just wasn't really sure what. And then the Excel part hit me, and once I saw it like actually pick up and start growing, it was really exciting.
I'm curious, like what, like Mary, for you, like what is it that you're passionate about? Like, because you've been successful, you've built a really large business, um, but you're still working that business. Like, what is it that keeps you coming back to it? Like, what are you passionate about now about your business?
Yeah, and that's a great question because 25 years in this business is almost unheard of, right? Not too many people do this industry for this long. And I do agree with them. I don't have downtime. I love to keep busy. I really do. And for me, I don't ever feel like I'm working, right? I
Mm.
don't. I feel like everybody said, "Oh, you work so hard." I'm like, I don't work so hard though. That's the whole thing. I don't feel like I'm working at all, which is how much I love. And I think what I love about it is just serving other people, whether it's making them feel better on the outside. We have products that help people from the inside, and we also have products, well, we have an opportunity too that can change people's lives. And it sounds cliche. But the only thing with that is it doesn't happen overnight. So you have to be patient enough, right? It's like, watering a plant, you can't give up on people. You got to keep them moving through and keep them going. But I think that's probably what keeps me coming back to this. And I have other hobbies too, though. So there's other things that I do in between that I love doing. So it's not this 24/7. I don't feel like you need to do this 24/7 to build a successful business because it's all duplication. But yeah, I would say that's it.
The people who do direct selling and love direct selling, we hear that frequently from them, like that they are changing people's lives for the better a number of different ways. Um, what are those ways that you see where people are having that kind of impact?
And yeah, that's a great question, Dave. And I think one of the ways is you can see right here on this podcast is mentoring, right? I mean, your kids, people don't listen to what you do, they watch what you do and mimic what you do. So I think if you're a person that doesn't have, even if you don't have a lot of business skills, this industry can teach you so much. And your kids or your neighbor kids or your nieces and nephews, whoever's in your life, they're going to watch you do what you're doing. And I think that my kids grew up and knew that I worked, they saw me working hard, right? They saw me going out at night and in the evenings, but they knew that it was ultimately to help them, right? So, I mean, that's why I did it. Paid cash for college for every one of them. So there's no debt for them coming, out. So, I think that's a huge thing is it's not just the financial rewards because they're there if you work, but you gotta be persistent and give it enough time for that. But there's so many other great rewards and what you're going to learn about yourself if you give this time.
Yeah. Was that something that you picked up on, Emma? Like, was your mom being an entrepreneur and kind of running, but like, did you recognize like early on that that was, what she was doing was for you guys to build a better life for you? I mean, coming out like not having any debt in college is incredible. Like, especially now, like that's such a cool thing.
Yes, and I think whenever I was younger, I maybe didn't appreciate it as much, but now that I am an adult and I started making my own money, I kind of look back and I reflect, and I definitely did see, and she was working all the time, and I also kind of noticed like how flexible it was. That was another thing is because she didn't really miss out on much. We got to go on vacations, we got to still do a lot of stuff while she was working, which was really cool because I know a lot of times in corporate, your parents have to go to work every day and like don't get a lot of time off. So I noticed like how hard she was working and how flexible it was. And I did notice how she is always has something going on as well. If she isn't working on her business, she's working on a house project or she's constantly doing something. So I definitely picked up a lot of those traits growing up, for sure.
If you grow up in an entrepreneurial household, there's a lot of flexibility and things might change too all the time. And that's one thing with everybody. It's like, okay, I don't know, things can change on a dime's notice. Like, okay, we're not going here, we're going there, we're going to do this, that. So that could be another really good positive thing about being in this industry. And you're flexible too, Emma, and what you do and traveling and, your life in general. So,
Yeah, I think I saw that growing up and definitely wanted something like that for myself as well. Um,
Yeah.
because it's different. Because a lot of people, the majority of people go into like corporate, so that's kind of what you're told to do growing up, and that's why you go to college. So it is just it's different. You don't see as many people doing what she was doing.
Yeah, I can imagine. How long did it take you to go from like 0 to 9 million followers?
It took 4 years. The first year was like one of the biggest growth periods though, because I think we like maybe not biggest, but within the first year we had a couple million, which was crazy.
and
Um,
you worked, right? When did you officially quit your job? I'm just curious in that time.
Yeah, so my situation is a little bit interesting. So I was working as an actuary and running Excel dictionary for one full year, working full time, doing Excel dictionary on the side, pretty much working two jobs, weekends, nights. I was working all the time. And then I was actually approached by a company called Morning Brew, who actually wanted to acquire Excel Dictionary. So I actually left my corporate job and ran on Excel Dictionary under the Morning Brew umbrella with them for a year. And we kind of worked on the business together. And then after my year contract was up, we went our separate ways, and I've been doing it independently ever since. So for about 2 years and a couple months now, I've been running it independently.
So that's I mean that's amazing. I'm curious. Um, and I'm thinking back to when I went the more traditional route to in my career, finished my college degree, went back for MBA, did those things. I remember one of my business school professors talking about starting your own business. We were taking an entrepreneurship class, and he said, there's two philosophies. When you're starting your own business, you can eat well or you can sleep well. And what he meant by that was, you can eat well by incurring debt, taking whether it's venture capital money or other investors, and then the stress level that comes with that, or you can sleep well, which means you don't have the debt, you don't have the responsibility for other people's money, but you also then it's all on you. So I'm curious, like you went the route of doing this on the side for a little while till you got it up and off the ground, and now it's a full-time thing. What is it? Do you think there's a better way, or does it come down to the personality? Like, does everybody have to ultimately make that choice for themselves, or would you recommend one way or another for people out there considering starting their own thing?
Yeah, so this is kind of like an interesting devil's advocate on both sides. So I definitely do not regret going with them. I definitely learned a lot because at that point I was still working my corporate job. So when I went there, I truly learned kind of how to run and monetize an online business because like that's their bread and butter. They have an online marketing agency. So they taught me so much and they did teach me a lot of the skills that I did need to run a successful entrepreneurial business like online. But I will say whenever I worked there, it did start to feel like a job. Like I wasn't really passionate about it anymore. I was more frustrated. I had to listen to what other people were telling me about the thing I built. There was a lot of frustrations. There was a lot of kind of just things that I was like, this just isn't right. And it did start to feel like more of like a job. And I just didn't love it anymore. And so then at the end of the contract, when we went separate ways, I like truly found so much joy in it again. And now I absolutely love it. And I would never sell it again at this point. But I don't regret doing it. And I learned so much from them. But you're definitely right. Like if you're doing it for other people and there's other people kind of dictating of what you can do with your brand and your business, it does start to feel like it's not really yours anymore. And it's kind of like it is a job.
Yeah. I'm curious. I'm curious with Mary, with growing a direct selling business. I mean, a lot of people treat it like a hobby, and it becomes a hobby. So it's kind of like this thing that they do in their spare time. And like for you, it's been a business where you've like you said, you've done some amazing things, like no debt, sending all your kids to college on cash. So it's been more of a business for you than a hobby for sure. But do you find the similar thing where it's like, does it feel like your thing that you're doing, it's your business, or does it feel more like you're working for somebody because you're affiliated with a brand and you're representing that brand, but you're also building your own business at the same time? So is that like, do you recognize kind of some similarities between what Emma was talking about, or is it kind of a different thing?
Yeah, see, and I feel like it's my own. I do. I know it's Neora's, but I truly feel like my business and what I do in my identity, even it's not just my team, because I think we help everybody. So I'm not going to say I feel like my team's my own because it doesn't matter whose team you're on. You're going to help somebody. But I do. I feel like I don't know. I think because culture ultimately comes from you, Jeff Olson, Renee, Amber, Deb, but then it feeds down into us too. And we model and mimic what we were taught by you. And then in turn, we model and mimic people that watch us and on our team. So, yeah, even though it's Neora's, I feel like it's still mine. And I feel like you can do this part-time, definitely, but you need to be consistent and you need to do something every day. It doesn't have to be a full-time thing. And you can do it, you know, in the nooks and cranny of your day, as long as you set aside time every day to do it. It doesn't have to be a full-time thing, especially in the beginning. It can be very part-time until you can build something up too. So that's another really cool thing about this. But did I answer your question? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I think that people, people have different, I mean, let's be honest. People have different opinions of what direct selling is or isn't. Some people they've formed those opinions because they've done direct selling. Some people form those opinions because they've listened to other people, but they've never done it themselves. And so, there's a lot of kind of different. There's certainly differences between the company that you're with and the brand that you represent, and what how much that feels like your own thing versus something that you're doing for somebody else. And I think that's kind of like people have to make their own decision ultimately about where they want to go and who they want to work with. But but I was curious, like, because we're on this podcast, we're big fans of growing businesses and trying things, taking risks. We've talked a lot about that. But, you know, would you say clearly there's a different level of risk associated with like going out, starting your own business? Like Emma just said, like she wasn't aware that there was this huge market for Excel videos. And you know, with direct
Yes.
selling, I think that's a little bit different. Like it's a little bit lower risk. Kind of there's a lot more potential um, to recognize that there's already demand for a product in that space. So I think but I don't know. Does it feel like it's less risk because you're joining a company that already has um, a
Yeah,
demand for the
everything done.
product?
Right. A demand for the product or 100%. Because what I've seen Emma do and watching her build and scale and trying to learn everything that you need to know. I mean, truly, she does work. And she still works 16 hours a day and she has people that help her. She has staff, but she still works all the time learning and growing and things evolve too. So for us, she's more on a service side and we're more on a product side. And I think for us, Neora will upgrade the products. We have a great product that we just launched. So they're in charge of doing all the technology and that for us. And we can just, feed the demand, like you said, of the space that we're in. So I think we're in a really, really good position overall being in direct sales. And I think being in the space that we're in direct sales. 100%. The risk is virtually nothing. The only risk is maybe failing, right?
Mm,
I mean, I'm feeling
right.
like you failed, but obviously if you don't
Yeah.
try, you've always failed, right? So you miss every shot that you didn't take. So that's probably your biggest risk is maybe feeling like you didn't do what you thought you could have done.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say I don't really feel as if there was a lot of risk for me as well going into it because I was working my job at the time. So like if I didn't start making money from it, if it wasn't picking up, I probably just would have never quit my job. If I like went full fledged and kind of invested a lot to start this, I would definitely feel like a lot more risk and pressure, but I kind of started on the side for fun and like loved it. And the fact that it grew into a big business, it just makes that even better. Because I don't know. I just feel like there wasn't that much risk at the beginning, and it was just great that it kind of turned into what it did.
Sure. If you were to do anything differently, what would you do differently with the business that you started?
I would have probably hired help sooner. I was doing everything, like literally everything for the business for a long time, and I was working really long days, weekends, just like drowning. I just like could not keep up with it. And then I started talking to other people in the space. I actually went to a conference and I was the only one like working nonstop at this conference. No one else was working. And I just like started to talk to them. I'm like, how do you guys not have a bajillion things to do here? And they were all like, oh, we don't really do anything anymore. We have like a team that helps us with all this stuff so we can focus on big picture items. And I was like, that's crazy. So that kind of like opened my eyes up to like getting help and start like offloading the work that you truly don't need to be doing so that you can open up more space for you to kind of think about bigger picture things and how you can truly make the business grow and attain more revenue and all this other stuff. So I would probably get help sooner so that I could have started focusing on the big picture items a little bit longer ago, but it's okay. We're doing
Yeah.
that now.
You're doing it now. Yeah. What about you, Mary? Would you do anything differently?
Oh gosh. I mean, I'm gonna say no. I don't, I mean, I feel like I should be able to look back and say I should have done something differently. I'm glad I took a risk when I did. I left a large position in another company to come to New York to basically start over. So that in itself was a big risk that I took because I had a six-figure income in my last company. So Yeah, I mean, not, I just, you know what? I'm the type of person that I will try something, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And I don't look at it as failure. I think too, with us, everything is duplicated from really from the top down. So it's not like we have to think about how to market it, what to say to people, their training schedules, right? I mean, so many other companies, as a leader, you do all that. You are the communication between the company and the field, where with Neora, it's done for us. So we don't have to do any of the duplication, the product, the marketing. It's all done. How to sell the product, what to send to people, the videos, the opportunities. It's all done for us. So doing something different for me, I mean, I just feed people into the system that's already set up, if that makes sense. And maybe that's why I can't answer that question, is because the system's already created for us.
Yeah, which is good. There are lots of
Very
companies out there, lots of systems out there, and
right.
we're you know so we're obviously we're big fans of direct selling over here. Um, so last question. I know you've got 9 million followers to get back to, and and Mary, you've got a team that also requires attention. But I want to ask you this, like, before we go, like for people who are out there and they're considering doing something, and they're interested in some kind of a business or some kind of side venture or some kind of like any kind of way where they're looking at expanding their opportunities in their business. um what what advice would you give them about getting started?
I would tell them to just get started. I talk to a lot of people who kind of ask me how I did all of everything and kind of want to start something for their own, but they're so hyper focused on like having everything perfect and knowing everything before you start something. But like looking back, whenever I started Excel Dictionary, I didn't know anything that I knew now. You kind of learn as you go. So you just have to pick up the phone, you have to start posting. You just have to just start and you will literally learn everything as you go. And then you do not need to master everything before you start something. You can use online resources, YouTube, Google, and just kind of adapt and learn as you go. So I would say just start. You do not need to know everything to get started.
What about you, Mary? What advice would you give people looking at doing something like
I would
this?
just say find something that you're passionate about. And again, like for me, I wasn't passionate about skincare when I got started, but I was passionate about working with other people and helping them build something, which is what you can do in this space. And just be prepared to dive in, right? Like Emma said, there's so many resources. So if you don't know anything about direct sales or don't know anything about marketing, podcasts, books, just be a student, really. And I still am a student. I love listening to personal, and I've done this for 25 years, but I love listening to personal development podcasts. Shout out to Built to Win, right?
Yeah, you're on one.
Yeah. So I'm reading books like How to Win Friends and Influence People. Awesome book, super old, Dale Carnegie, right? One of the first books I read, and it teaches you really how to relate to other people. So there's so many resources out there. Slate Edge, great book. So we know. So yeah.
Love it. Love it. Well, thank you both so much for being on our episode today. This has been truly a pleasure just to get to a little more insight into both of you and the businesses that you're running, and just want to thank you for being here. It's been great.
Oh,
Thank you for having me.
yeah. Thank you so much, Dave.
All right. Well, best of luck in your ventures as you go forward, and we'll see you all next time on our next episode of Built to Win.
That was Dave Fleming talking with Mary Chieppor and her daughter Emma Chieppor about what they've learned as entrepreneurs. We hope you've enjoyed this episode, and if you learned something from it, please share it with a friend or colleague who you think would also benefit. And if you're new to Built to Win, we invite you to go back and listen to our story from the beginning. You can find us wherever you download your favorite podcasts. And while you're there, please rate us and leave a review to let us know what you think of the show.